What up, world? This is your brother Manny here. Hope you have a great day, and hope you have a blessed Tuesday. Today is the first. Today is the month of June. Like I said, hope you all had a great. Hope you and everybody have a blessed month. I want to reminder that second part of the 14th annual Multicultural Festival is going to be between 131st Street and 145th Street at Steen Amsterdam. Is free. You should come. It's on June 17th. I think the time is 12 to 6. Feel free to come, and also please feel free to invite family and friends of your event, even your neighbors. And hopefully you have a great day on the 17th. Now, I want to discuss you about tomorrow. Game 3 of the NBA Finals is going to be the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. The series tied one games apiece. I personally will still pick the Nuggets to win in 7, but it seems going to be a difficult challenge because listen, the Miami Heat, I think they're undefeated in Game 3s because they won the last Game 3s from Milwaukee, New York, and Boston respectively. Denver had only won one Game 3, which was the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. I just found an interesting stat that when Jokic averaged 40, the Nuggets lose, and when he doesn't average 40, the Nuggets often win. So, in order to win this series, Jokic needs to at least average less than 40 points to make sure his team win. I mean, he could have a game at 40, but is that enough to help the team win? So it's going to be very interesting. I also found out that Jimmy Butler has not played well in the finals, even though he's been offensively. I mean, yes, defensively he's doing all right, but offensively has not been playing well. But hopefully everything will be all right. Now, the reason that I put this episode this episode is because tomorrow will mark the 30th anniversary of a death of a legendary ball player. He was basically ahead of his time. Before the likes of Dirk, before the likes of Luka and Jokic, it was a man named Drazen Petrovic, who was basically a player ahead of his time, and also you could say a little bit before Steph. What I mean by that he was basically one of the best shooters in the game, and also one of the first European stars in the NBA. Back in the days in the late 80s, early 90s. You see a plethora of international players came to the NBA, and particularly in the European side, from Yugoslavia, Serbia, and even Croatia. That's where Drazen Petrovic was from. He entered the NBA in 1989. He was originally drafted by the Blazers in 1986, but he couldn't play because of obligation of playing in overseas. In his first couple of years, he had the potential, but unfortunately he couldn't get enough minutes because at that time the Blazers had Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter. And in 1990, just his first season, the Blazers reached the NBA Finals, but lost to the eventual back-to-back champion Detroit Pistons. And just months into the 91 season, he was traded to the then New Jersey Nets, and his game began to blossom. In this last full 2 years, he averaged at least 20 points and shooting 50% of the 3-point line, which was at the time the 3-pointers wasn't big as it was what it was back then, but he made it a bigger thing because of how he was accurate. Because at that time, during his time with the Nets, he was arguably one of the best 2 guards in the game, let alone one of the best, probably top 2 or top 3 in the Eastern, 2 guards in the Eastern Conference. I mean, he had to deal with people like the Jordans and the Richmonds and the Reggie Millers and the Clyde Drexlers, and all that stuff. But Dragi's had his own. In his full 2 seasons with the Nets, he averaged over 20 points a game, shooting over 50% of the 3. He led them to 2 straight playoff appearances in 92 and 93. Unfortunately, both of them lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was during which he had the chance to play with future legends Derek Coleman and Kenny Anderson and the late great Chuck Daly. He was also a member of the Croatian 1992 Olympic team, which had lost to the greatest to the famed dream to the great dream team during great dream team at the finals of the Olympics in '92. They grabbed he won a silver during that time. Um, it was during which that he in which at the time he and Vlade Divac were very close, but unfortunately, the war in Yugoslavia drifted them apart. Drifted them apart because it was Yugoslavia, but it was kind of separated into countries. In particular, Vlade Divac is from Serbia, while Drazen Petrovic and future legends Tony Kukoc and I believe Dino Roger was from some Croatia. Sadly, he died on June 7, 1993, as a result of a car accident. He was 28 years old. Um, it was heartbroken to say the least because at the time, Drazen was was having this was having a he was entering his prime in his late 20s. He was on the rise as well as the New Jersey Nets, and if not for his death, the Nets probably would have been a bigger factor in the '90s, particularly Eastern Conference. At the time, the Bulls dominated the East as well, and then the Knicks were the coming, and other teams were other Eastern Conference contending teams. Imagine if the Nets had Drazen was alive, the Nets probably would have been a bigger factor. Unfortunately, the Nets were not a big factor for a contender until 2001 with the arrival of Jason Kidd, with which the team reached the finals twice in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. And but Drazen Petrovic is but even at depth, he's still one of the greatest shooters of all time. In 2000, the next season, his jersey was retired by the Nets, and then in 2002, he was possibly enshrined in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. If you want to know about his story, please go watch videos on YouTube and also watch the documentary about Once Brothers, which was basically produced and also narrated by his former teammate and once close friend, Vlade Divac, a Hall of Famer in his right. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I hope you all have a great day, and rest in peace, Drazen Petrovic. 30th, rest in peace, Drazen Petrovic. Tomorrow marks the 30th anniversary of his untimely death. Peace.